Hello and welcome back. It's another edition of Ask a CFO, and as ever, I'm joined today by James Vanreusel. Good morning, James.
Good morning. How are you?
Question for you today. What are the biggest challenges for a non-profit company in the current climate of uncertainty?
There's a lot going on right now, there are several big challenges. The one that always comes to mind as a CFO, as a finance person, is cash. So fundraising, donations. Where is my income going to come from? And typically, what you'd see is with a lot of nonprofits, you would see a relative. You start the year with these are all our renewals coming up. These are potentially new logos, new investors or new donors that come in. And then you think about, can we upsize, or are several going to be downsized, or are we coming to the end of a multi-year cycle of donations? With the current environment, everybody's been talking to their investors very, very closely to see what their plans are. 2021 has been really a black box. No one has really known what's going on. I think the fact that the stock market has remained strong year to date has been very, very positive for foundations to continue to give at similar levels that they have been. I think the bigger ones, the stronger ones, have been able to keep up their donations whilst at the same time providing extra donations to existing portfolio companies to do specific COVID-related work. Some other donors, some of the smaller ones, maybe some people who are angel investors or something like that also provide donations to nonprofits, have pulled back because they have to make a choice between, do I want to keep funding the same nonprofits, or do I want to fund healthcare nonprofits that are really focusing on this pandemic right now? And so that's where there's been a lot more concern, a lot more worry about funding going away. And so I think the nonprofits focused on healthcare have still done relatively well, or have done very well. The ones who have not focused on healthcare as much have done less well, and there has been concern there on the fundraising. But it's still, we're not in 2021 yet. No one really knows what's happening. So I think as we do budgets for next year, that is a big topic, and I think every company needs to go to every existing donor and ask the question about renewals right now. Whereas in the past, I think maybe that didn't happen. I think that does need to happen right now, just to lower the potential for volatility.
So if I run a non-profit outside of, let's say, the health sector, so I'm suddenly seeing my donations are drying up, what would you say are the 2 or 3 sort of most critical things that I can do to just try and survive while I'm fighting for new donations, in terms of scaling back costs and expectations?
Yeah. One of the things that has helped with cash flow this year, which is not in line really with the mission of the nonprofit, is that it's been really hard to do programmatic work. A lot of people, there's been shelter in place. A lot of people haven't been able to go out. A lot of programs have been on hold in Africa and Asia and Latin America. And so a lot of the spending that was supposed to happen has not been happening. So the expense line has gone down considerably. A lot of the staffing has stayed relatively flat, because once things open up and things have opened up, and then they've closed again, and then they've opened, and then they've closed, but there's a certain level of staff that's needed to run these programs. And so if you cut the staff, all of a sudden you can't do the programs, and you can't hit your programmatic targets for the year that you've promised all your donors. So there are multiple catch-22s in play here. But the expenses have come down already. And so I think a a lot of companies on the cash flow side, the income's come down, the expenses have come down. So there hasn't been that much that has needed to be done. But as I've said in the past, you can control your expenses. It's much harder to control income. So if there is significant concern, then the expenses is where the cutting needs to happen, but it will have an impact on the future, because you might have to rehire people as well.
So an impossible question to sort of finish on, but what do you think the future holds for nonprofits if we continue with this climate of uncertainty now? How do you see the sector shaping up?
I would say the passion is still there. A lot of nonprofits are still doing extremely well and very important work for society and the world. There is still a lot of money out there that is looking to support that. So I think right now everything is still very much in play, very much going well. The economy is I think doing better. It's definitely not doing well, but it's doing better than expected, and the stock market is doing extraordinarily well given how the economy is faring. And so as long as the stock market stays high, people feel wealthier. The source of people's donations is still intact. And so I think the risk right now is still on the lower end of where it could be, but I think it's definitely a case of, monitoring things month to month in case the environment changes.
Sound advice. Thanks very much, James. Really appreciate that. And we'll be back with you next time. So have you got a question for James? You can ask it in the question below, or you can tweet #AskACFO, and literally any question on any aspect of corporate finance, for-profit, non-profit. James is always happy to pitch in with an answer. So we will see you next time. Thanks very much, James. See you again.